Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Joy Anderson, and with me today is my amazing, beautiful friend, Dayna Abraham. She is a world renowned parenting expert. And yes, I'm telling her she's world renowned because she's helped millions of moms be able to calm the chaos in their homes. And she's written this incredible book right here, Calm the Chaos. It just launched this week. And so, Dayna, welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Joy. You are always so amazing.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. We've been watching this book, since its infancy, and all the time you've been developing the proposal. And let me just tag this in all the places so we can get it pinned to the top of the groups. And there's one more right here. And so what we're going to do is we have a crazy, amazing topic today. And I'm super excited about this topic. It's going to hit home for so many moms. The topic is how to create an electronics plan both you and your kid like. But more importantly, we're also going to be talking about this epic book that just got produced and it's out in stores everywhere. Didn't it just get released yesterday, Dayna?
It did. Yesterday was the first day it was on the shelves.
Amazing. So
Yes.
if you already have your copy of the book, I got mine yesterday. And of course, I got a whole bunch of more copies I'm giving away. But if you got your copy, let me know in the comments. I got my book. And then, of course, if you need one, let us know because we're going to drop the link so that you can get your own book too. And in fact, real quick, is the link calmthechaosbook.com?
It is. That is
Okay.
the link.
Good. Let me go drop this in all the places really quick so they can go grab it while we're sitting here chatting. And how are you doing first? I know we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, but first I need to check in on you because my goodness, like a book launch cannot be easy. How in the world are you doing?
I am doing okay. I may or may not have completely forgot about 2 appointments today. I was like, today's kind of a down day. I've got an interview and then I've got some downtime and another interview. So I told my dad to come on over and hang out with me. And my husband was like, you did not have any breaks today. I was like, well, I do now.
I love that. Oh man, you just returned from Kenya too, right? An epic trip over there, helping Stu McLaren with Village Impact and pouring into building classrooms over there.
Yes, that was an amazing trip. And I got to take my 15, now 16-year-old with me, and he got to pour all of his love into the kids in the village. It was just amazing.
Awesome. Well, that's amazing. So before we dive into how to help your kids create an electronics plan they're actually going to get behind and love you for it, make sure you go grab your copy, Calm the Chaos. Now, this hit huge, top bestsellers over on Amazon this weekend. Tell us about the rankings it's already gotten.
Yeah, so it's already hit #1 in autism in the UK, and it hit #1 in grandparenting on Amazon Australia. It hit the top 3 of all books in child psychology, and against a book that's been selling for 10 years. So the fact that it's in the top 3 over there is pretty huge. And then it hit top 500 on all books of all of Amazon. So
of all books ever. Are you kidding me?
Yes,
Top 5.
yes. Yeah,
That's amazing.
It is. It's pretty
Holy
amazing.
cow.
So, and on Barnes and Noble as well, it hit. I think it was like 424 on Barnes and Noble yesterday.
Wow.
So top 500 on all Barnes and Noble books.
Yeah. So let's just, before we move on, I need to know your heart because not everybody understands what Calm the Chaos is, but why this book? Why now? Why were you so passionate that years ago you wrote a book proposal to get this into the hands of a book publisher, and then finally now you're trying to get this to #1 to knock out a book that is 10 years outdated? But why this book? Why now? Why does every mother, teacher, educator, leader, why do we need this in the hands of every parent, person out there that influences children, that is teaching children, raising children? Why this book?
Because I think that innately all of us have a need to be seen, heard, and valued for who we are and to feel belonging. And a lot of traditional parenting methods, a lot of traditional quote unquote discipline methods, they actually cause more harm than good. And they disconnect, they make kids feel inherently bad about who they are or what they do. And this methodology, I've seen it work. I have seen it work for my own family. I've seen it work for thousands of parents, hundreds of thousands of parents around the world with all different situations. And it was built in chaos for the most challenging situations. But because of that, it now works in all sorts of situations.
Oh, I love that. So go get your copy. Go to calmthechaosbook.com. I'm going to drop that link one more time in all the places. And then you put together a couple ideas for us about how we can create a kids, electronics plan. Why don't you dive right into that?
Yeah, so I think when we're trying to get a plan together, whether it's electronics or it's a meal plan or it's a morning routine, a lot of times we jump straight to the strategies and we jump straight to the top-down approach. So this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. I read this thing on Pinterest. And with electronics specifically, it's been in the news a lot. You just had Jennifer Gardner come out and tell her kids, hey, when you can prove to me that electronics have a positive effect, then I'll let you have electronics. I think it was like social media. And so a lot of people are hearing that they shouldn't let their kids have electronics or they should be really strict with them. And so we jump into, well, I heard of this plan and now we're going to do it. And I'm going to let you guys know that's not how I run things. And so we're not going to jump into the plan first. We're actually going to talk about some of the foundations that are needed so that you can have a plan that works, a plan that matches your values, your home, your children, your unique needs, because my plan isn't going to be your plan. Joy's plan isn't going to be your plan. And each of us need to create a plan that is unique to our family. And that's the first key, is not just adapting someone else's plan and trying to make it one size fits all.
Oh, I love that too. And here's what I want everybody to do. Keep these comments going, right? So in the comments, if you could please, just share the word electronics, right? If you have ever struggled in your home with knowing what do we do with electronics, right? Where is the happy medium? Where is the balance? Where is the fine line? How do we keep electronics in our home without like overruling everything we do in our home? So put the comment electronics. If this resonates with you, keep those comments going. That's going to share this message even more. Okay, let's keep going. This is great.
So the first one is making something that's unique to you. Now, the way we do that in Calm the Chaos, the book, and in our methodology, I talk about how you need 4 essential ingredients for every plan that you create. And that, just real fast, that if you think of like a Venn diagram, it's connection, understanding, empowerment, and you at the center. So that is your perception being able to change, you being able to remain calm. And so if your kid is, let's say, looking at something on electronics that isn't appropriate or that might worry you or scare you, that you're able to calm yourself down first and not use your fear to guide the conversation. The connection is that you're connecting maybe over electronics before you set in place a new plan. The understanding is understanding, what are your kids getting from electronics? My daughter absolutely loves Roblox. And what she gets from it is she gets connection. She actually builds whole worlds. They just built a camp. And so she had to research what goes into a camp and what are the different areas that she needed and how much should she charge for people to come into the camp. And then she lets people in that she knows, but her friends then gather and it becomes a gathering place. Even though it's on electronics, they'll still Zoom with each other or FaceTime with each other while playing Roblox. And so what is she getting out of it? She's getting connection. She's getting to use her creativity. And so understanding what they're getting from it is really important. And then the empowerment piece is having a plan in place that meets the needs of both, not just the needs of you and your desires, but also the needs of your child and their concerns and desires as well. So that's a very high level of what needs to go into the plan, but every plan you create to solve a problem needs those 4 ingredients.
Oh, I love that. And I think especially like Not just meeting your needs, not just meeting your kids' needs. Like it's both. Love
Yes.
that.
Yes, 100%. And so I'm loving all of these comments. I see someone said they ordered a bunch of books to bring the
Sweet.
village back in the community. I love it. Love it.
Yes.
Amazing. So beautiful. So and they're going to do a weekly group together. That is so cool. I love it. It's so
Make
amazing.
sure you go get your copy of Calm the Chaos, calmthechaosbook.com. Seriously, let's get this book to number one. Let's get that outdated book out of there and show everyone that this truly is the next, like revolutionary book. That's not just revolutionary, but like actually works. So I love that. Okay,
Yes,
let's continue.
absolutely. And so the first thing is that you need something that's uniquely for your family. You also, that's not cookie cutter. The second thing is you need a plan that involves all four of those key steps and key elements. The next thing is that we talked about this. We jump into the ahead of the moment and, the strategies and the fixing, but there are 5 stages to creating a plan. And I know everyone's like, no, just give me a plan that works. But we have to get out of this mindset that parenting or educating is an Amazon Prime event, right? Like, I love that you can get my book tomorrow when you order it today, or sometimes you can get it today. But parenting, when we're raising humans, we can't expect it to be overnight. We can't expect it to be solved and fixed just with like a click of a button. And so we really do have to start with the foundation. And there are 5 stages. So the first stage is a ride the storm plan. So if you're asking about electronics, it means you're probably struggling with some electronics. So maybe in the comments, let me know, what is your biggest challenge with electronics? And I'll use those as examples as we go through this. So a ride the storm plan is, let's say, you ask your kid to get off electronics, you give them a warning, they still don't get off, you end up yelling at them, and then everybody ends up upset. Yeah. So a ride the storm plan is, in the heat of the moment, how are you getting through it when they refuse without losing your cool, without adding more fuel to the fire? And so that plan really is about your mindset and about the signals you're sending your kid in the heat of the moment. Yeah.
I think too, like one of the things that I remember most from you, because we've had many conversations about like how to help out, with challenging kiddos, whether we're raising them or teaching them, is, are we calm inside? Are we the calm? And so like through like so many situations, I'm always like, okay, when he went to a level 10, my first instinct is to match it at a level 10. In fact, probably match it at 15, like go up to a 15, because I have to like, overpower or get my needs across or like counter him. And the only way to do that is to go higher. But what's so crazy, it's almost like that whisper voice that when you whisper, they actually listen. And so like, it's like, are we calm? They're at a level 10 and we want them down here. But in order to do that, we need to stay down here. So I just appreciate you first off for like helping me remember that.
One of the easiest ways to do that too is to really pay attention to the language we use around electronics. There's a lot of really scary words out there around electronics right now. The media will use it, and so will the opposite side trying to like combat the electronics industry. I mean, this is $1 billion industry. So you're going to have 2 big forces against each other. But the words you want to kind of watch are addictive or addicted, because when we use those words, when we're talking about our child on electronics, what it does is it immediately, even just like going through a role play with you right now, my body tenses up thinking, oh my gosh, is my child in danger? And if you believe your child is in danger in the heat of the moment, you're going to react as if they are about to get hit by a bus. And the reality is they're not going to get hit by a bus today in this moment when they're not getting off of electronics.
Yep. So true. Okay.
Yeah. So that would be the very first one, is that Ride the Storm plan is about changing our own perspective and changing our own languaging so that we can remain calm, even if it takes them 3 hours to get off electronics, because the plan's not going to work the first time you try it. So you need a plan for yourself.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of, I don't know if it was you, but it was something we were talking about like deep breathing and stuff. And it's like, oh, I know who it was. It was Quinn. Quinn was saying, you don't teach deep breathing, and you don't teach breathing in the heat of the moment when the kid can't breathe, is like freaking out. You don't, hey, let me teach you how to breathe so we can calm. No, you teach it well in advance. So I
Yes.
think of like in the moment where you're talking about, like the plan is also like outside of that moment. Like we know those moments already exist. So like let's put a plan in place outside of that moment
Mm-hmm.
so that when we get to those moments, we now know what to do, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So and this is your plan for yourself that you're
Mhm.
creating out of the moment,
Got
right?
it.
And so I see Anna saying my son gets back on after we go to sleep, which can be really
Yeah.
frustrating. And what can come up is in your head is like, oh my gosh, they don't respect me, they don't care about me, like this is awful. And so when we're using that languaging in our head, even if we never say it out loud, we're
Yeah.
going to struggle to remain calm.
Yep.
Yep. So the next stage, when we're talking specifically about electronics, I wouldn't say that it relates 100%, except for that I just don't think anyone should skip that phase. So stage 2 is about getting your own time and energy. And so
Mhm.
if you're depleted, then when you get woke up in the middle of the night, or if your kid is taking 20 minutes to get off of electronics, well, you're not going to have the patience to wait through. You're not going to be able to show up. You're not going to be able to de-escalate if
Mhm.
you're depleted. And
Yep.
so you want to make sure that you have these small habits built throughout your day that are taking care of your own energy. And where it affects electronics is really pay attention to where you're using electronics that it might be draining you, or
Mhm.
you might be using it as your own self-soothing activity
Yeah.
because your kids are watching that. If you work online like I do, or you study a lot online and you watch, Joy's videos and things like that, your kids are watching that. And so
Yeah.
they may need that explanation of what you're getting from the electronics so that
Right.
when you're like, hey, you should only have 5 minutes. They're like, but you just did it for 4 hours. I'm so
Yeah.
confused, right?
Yeah.
So when you're doing your time and energy plan, just look at how much you're using electronics as part of your relaxation, your boost, your drains, the things that you're doing to revitalize.
I love that. Yeah. And just when you're talking about, like if you're using it to self-soothe, if you're using it to escape reality, right? There may also be a chance that your kids are using it the same way. So it looks like we're looking at a root and the electronics are actually a symptom.
Electronics are almost always the symptom. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
almost all behavior is at the tip of the iceberg. And
Mhm.
what's under the surface is really, we've identified 6 main causes to behavior. So the first
Mhm.
one is a basic need. And that brings us to the in the moment plan. So
Yeah.
looking at in the moment, what are they getting from this? Are they tired? Are they hungry? Are they self soothing because they feel like maybe they're nervous about something or anxious or
Mhm.
excited about something? And this is a way to kind of zone out, to kind of put
Yeah.
off that thing that's scary. The next thing is belonging. We talked about that with my daughter. Are they getting connection in a way that they can't get, or that's really hard for them in person? My
Right.
oldest son is autistic and he's ADHD and sensory processing and lots of anxiety. And he finds his people online, and that's how he communicates and how he connects with people. So
Yeah.
electronics are actually a very vital part of his life. And
Mhm.
so really understanding that is important. Is it sensory? Now, this is one that a lot of people don't even know or understand, but is your child using electronics as sensory input? Which, yes,
Mm.
probably, right? The
Yeah.
flashing lights and the movement and the sound. And, so how can you help them, not in the moment, but once you understand what they're getting from it, now how can you replace that with that
Mm.
same type of thing, but maybe it's not electronics? Or if they're not getting enough movement, if
Yeah.
they're just zoning out, they're watching the TV, are they hanging upside down? Are they, flipping and turning? Well, maybe they need something active to be doing
Mhm.
instead. So
Yeah.
giving them some ways to replace it. Now, again, in the heat of the moment is not when you're replacing it, but there is a reason. Now, I see boredom coming up and they just need something to do. But I'm telling you, boredom is like at the bottom of the barrel. There is a
Mm.
reason why they're bored. Why are they bored? What are they seeking when they are using electronics? They're seeking to meet a basic need, to get connection, to meet a sensory need, to learn a skill, because they are just like desiring and they're seeking out that dopamine hit, or they're trying to avoid something because it's hard for them or they don't like something.
I like that. Yeah, I think a lot of our kids, especially in this day and age where it's like instant gratification, the dopamine hits, and so when they don't have that, it's like, well, now what do I do? Because nothing. Would you like? I always feel like nothing can compare to the pull that electronics can give them. Like, how do I? And as a parent, like, how do I reconcile the like when you have like all this intense stuff going on into the video games? It feels like life almost is just not as exciting. And
Yes.
so therefore it's like, well, nothing you offer me as an alternative is going to matter because it's not exciting.
I think it depends on, we have to, and this is where we're moving into ahead of the moment. So in the moment, you're going to, again, it's not about fixing, but it's about de-escalating. So it's about getting closer to them. So if they're upstairs on electronics or they're in the other room on electronics, you're going to get closer to them. You're not going to shout it from the kitchen. You're not going to shout it from over their head. You're going to sit down next to them. And a lot of times you need to break their gaze. So you may actually don't touch their electronics, because that's gonna, it's like a hand of God coming down and like grabbing you. It's so dysregulating for them. But if you can say, hey, I need your attention, and you have these phrases you use, or you can break their gaze just a minute and say, hey, I just need you to look up for a second.
Yeah.
Instead of touching them, which can be really jarring if they're not expecting it. Like, have you ever been really watching something and all of a sudden someone comes and touches you? You're like, you feel like the heebie-jeebies just went all over you.
Right.
So that's what the in the moment plan is really just knowing like, okay, I'm not going to do a whole lot of fixing and solving right now, but I'm going to plan, what am I going to say? How am I going to get close to them to get their attention?
I love that. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. So the ahead of the moment, that's where we can really start being proactive. And you have to have that other stuff ahead of time. If you've been nagging your kid, if you've been huffing and puffing every time they're on electronics, if you have just been like, we have a 20-minute limit and that is it, then they're going to feel that tension and that stress. And so the ahead of the moment plan is more about really focusing in on what is the biggest struggle. Is it just electronics in general, or is it the getting off of electronics, or is it the amount of time they're on electronics, or is it the quality of electronics? Is it the interactions they're having or the content they're watching, right? So get really clear on what it is that is the problem, instead of just, well, electronics are a problem, let's take them all away. So you're going to hone in on that one focus. The connection, I see the age-old relationship first before correction. And I'm going to actually tweak that just a little bit for you, because I just think we should just be focusing on relationship. Because if we're doing connection before correction, then our kids are going to know that we're just connecting so that we can get them to do what we want. We've got to be really careful. Our kids are really smart and they can read right through that, like, oh, you did such a good job today. Now I need you to get off electronics, or something like that. So I just keep those totally separate. So the connection, the relationship building is out of the moment. What are you doing when you're not talking about electronics? How are you interacting with them? How are you showing up? What kinds of conversations are you having? How often have you sat and played the game with them? So when I sat and played the game with my son, I realized that there was no ending to Minecraft. So when I just gave him a 20-minute ending, he would be in the middle of building something else. And so we actually had to start saying, okay, what are you working on right now? And he would say, I'm building this tower. And I would say, okay, and how long do you think that's going to take? It's going to take me about 5 more minutes. Okay, I'm going to sit with you while you build the tower. When you're done, do you agree we're going to get off? Because this is going to be our save point. And he would say, oh, okay. If he was in like Fortnite, it would be like, okay, you can die 2 times, right? And after you've died 2 times, then we're going to get off. But once I understood the game, Now I could actually help make an ahead of the moment plan for when the stopping point would be.
Yeah.
The understanding piece again is now we're going to start unraveling where the breakdown happens. So my son was really struggling to get off of electronics, more so at night than in earlier in the day. And so for him, what we had to start paying attention to is where is this point of no return where he won't get off of electronics, no matter what we say, no matter what we
Yeah.
do. And we realized that after a certain point at night, he's just not being set up for success to be given games. But if he watches YouTube, there's an end point. If he watches a TV show, there's an end point. So it was
Yeah.
really easy to get him off at night because he wasn't playing a video game where he needed to be able to stop. He needed to be able to delay gratification because he had already gone through a whole day of flexibility and delaying gratification and all these things. By the end
Right.
of the day, he just didn't have those skills anymore. So to set him up for success, our ahead of the moment plan
Yeah.
involved, nope, we're just going to do TV at night. And he was like, oh, okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love, and when you're talking about, they they're building, they're creating. And I was thinking about you, and I'm like, I literally can put this right back to you and say, if you were in the middle of your chapter and you're in the zone and you're literally writing your book and you are in the zone, you've been, building on it for an hour or two, and you're like kicking it away and you're like, oh, I'm so good. It's so good. I'm in the flow. And then hubby or kid or whoever comes in is like, hey, dinner right now. Like, wait a second. Like, let me get this out. Like, you would have the exact same reaction. And I'm like, oh,
100%.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even more if your husband came and said, hey, it's time to mow the yard.
Right.
And you're like, no, I'm doing something right now, or if you're in the middle of, creating your lesson plans. I know there's a lot of people here who are doing that. And so if you're in the middle of creating your lesson plans and figuring out what you're going to do, and then all of a sudden this, demand comes in to say, hey, you know what I need you to do? I need you to plan our vacation, please.
Right.
It's a totally different part of your brain, and it's a total different skill set. And so it definitely does. It's hard to context switch. And for our kids, especially when they don't have those executive functioning skills built yet, it's a lot harder for them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good. So we've been talking about creating the electronics plan. Is there any last steps there?
Yeah, the very last step is to create systems. So once you've identified kind of what's working, what isn't working, you can start to create. This is where we go back to those values. What are our family values? What do we really, and get everybody's input. What is it that as a family we want to kind of live by? And then it becomes a lot easier to make decisions. This is a yes, this is a no, this is what we agree to, this is what we don't agree to. And so that makes it a lot easier instead of just handing down these rules from on high of here's how you can earn electronics time. It's like, no, this is just our agreement in this family. And sometimes those are going to need to be tweaked. We all agree that we're going to come back to these when it's not working. So my 15-year-old, right, he's in school and going back to high school, and he's been staying up a little late. And I'm like, all right, it's time for us to revisit our electronics plan because I'm noticing that you're staying up really late and you're not wanting to wake up in the morning. And so now I can bring my concerns, he brings his concerns, and then we're able to collaborate on a new plan.
And I love the collaboration idea. That's brilliant. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Well, Dayna, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I know you're a busy woman. You got many interviews to go to. So again, everyone, we need to make sure that we get this book to the top of the charts, not just to Amazon, but Barnes & Noble and New York Times and Wall Street Journal and all the things. It's called Calm the Chaos by Dayna Abraham. This is the book to help all parents, leaders, educators, teachers, help challenging kids. It says a fail-proof roadmap for parenting even the most challenging kids. And what I love most about it is it's a modern day book. It is modern day. It deals with your modern day issues. I think there's definitely some parenting books out there that are super outdated. And, the struggles that they had 10 years ago are not the struggles we're dealing with right now. So I'm going to drop the link in the comments again. If you do not have the book, you be sure to go get the book right now. I already ordered 100 copies of the book, and be sure to order as many as you can. You can get them for your child's teacher. You can get them for your neighbor, for your friend, for your mom. Say, this would have been better if you had read this. Just joking. No,
Don't say that. Don't say that. Say, I know you did the best you could with what you had. Here's an amazing book that's helping me. Maybe we can go through it together.
I love that. See, you know how to spend things correctly. Yeah, like, anyways, you can get it for your neighbor, for your friend. But most importantly, just get it. Get at least one copy, if not many. I love this. Maureen's going to get a copy for her mom as well. So go to calmthechaosbook.com. Dayna, do you have any last thoughts for us?
Well, I actually have something really exciting for anyone who does grab the book. We're running a Calm the Chaos live virtual event on August 26th. It's going to be a whole day event, virtual, so you can be anywhere in the world. And all you have to do is grab a copy of the book. Your book is your ticket. And so it's brand new. We just kind of released this bonus. And so you can buy a book from anywhere and then just turn in your receipt at calmthechaosbook.com.
I love that. Yeah, go do it. Let's get this book to the top of the charts.
Absolutely.
And help challenge. And I think at the end of the day, the purpose is to help the challenging kids. Like, if we can help them, there's one thing I do want you to leave with. It's what you always say. It's like, your goal is to help them. What is it?
So I want to empower parents to become expert in their children so that they can empower their kids to be experts in themselves.
Yes.
And I truly believe that parents and teachers, you're not failing. And I also don't believe that the children are broken. They just need a roadmap and a guide along the way that helps them see what works best for the way their brain works.
I love that. And so with that, we will leave you, but make sure you grab your copy of the book. Go to Calm the Chaos Book. You can get it in any bookstore, on Amazon, anywhere you shop for books. It's there. Again, Dayna, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you soon, friend.